Hi guys, so this is my advice for Year 11s. This is probably the most important piece of advice that I will ever give for Year 11s, is that please stand up for yourself, especially if it gets to like March time and you still haven't like really managed to complete your notes, like complete all your revision resources, and they're telling you to do things in class and they're setting your homeworks that you just know for definite won't be helpful and it's just a waste of time, and it's your exams are like right now, it's going to be your grade at the end of the day, so don't do the homework. Don't tell anyone that, but like, yeah, that's the one thing I regret most at Year 11. There's so many flipping pointless homeworks. I advise just going to speak to your teachers on a one-to-one basis and genuinely just ask them open and honestly. Tell them how you feel and just ask them if you can not do this and do something else that you know will be helpful, but at the same time be open-minded about things. So if you haven't tried something before, try that revision method and see if it works for you. Also, which you should also kind of do in Year 10 time, is find your productive time. So in the 24-hour day, you will most likely have a time where you are most productive, where you can concentrate best. So for me personally, this is between 4 AM and 6 AM, which meant a lot of early mornings for me. But some people that's about 10 o'clock, and if you're in school, that's not great, but on weekends you can get up at that time and do your work, so that is the time that you should focus on getting the most done. Also, I'm probably the only person that will advise this to you, but sleep is not that important at all. Yes, it is important. If you have revised, make sure you go to sleep on time, but if you have not revised and you are going to, and it is the night before the exam, cram as much as you possibly can, and even if that means staying up all night, do that. That's what I had to do. I got to the point that I hallucinated from lack of sleep, but I couldn't have done anything else. I did not get to revise because I was too busy with coursework. I was up every day, I didn't sleep at night. Everything was just impossible. But I would not have passed my exams without cramming and staying up all night trying to revise. So I would literally walk to the exam room whilst revising because there was no time for anything. So cram. Yeah, likewise, if you do have time, because you guys don't have coursework on the 9 to 1 spec mainly anymore, do you? So with that extra free time you'll have, make your resources as you go along, and the most important resource that I found at GCSE was Chegg flashcards. It's an app on my phone. It's like Quizlet, but not like Quizlet. It's basically like Quizlet without all of the games, but I prefer that, and you don't need Wi-Fi to use Chegg. I also found post-it notes useful, but not as useful as Chegg. So make those as you go along every day after your lesson. Just try and get them done if you can, but I also know how difficult that may be to do. So because it would be that difficult to do, because you also need to make sure you complete all of your homeworks to an extremely high standard in Year 11. You need to make sure, you need to be aiming for full marks in everything, every time. It doesn't even matter your ability, you need to put 110% in, and that is the best way you could get things out of it. Yeah, likewise with not having any time, in 6th form you have your freeze, but so at in Year 11 time, yeah, you're going to have to use your lunch time, and if you get the bus, the time you travel to on the bus, you're going to have to use that to your advantage and revise on there and revise in your break, just to try and get stuff done. Also, whilst you're actually sitting your GCSEs, I advise that you actually, if possible, politely ask to get a lift home, because if you have to walk or if you have to get the bus, then that takes actually quite a huge chunk of time out of your day, especially when you need to cram. So yeah, you need to get home as soon as possible. For me, it's about an hour journey home when it's 10 minutes in the car. Again, like taking your homework seriously, you need to take your mocks seriously. Try and put 110% effort into them and you should get the most out of them. But don't be disheartened by your results, because obviously some people put mock result reactions on, and I don't want to say anything that might offend these people, but in my opinion their teachers won't have marked it harshly, especially since their GCSE results have actually been worse than their mock results, which is absolutely awful, I know, but yeah. Most schools will mark mocks harshly, like they'll use the grade boundaries from the year before and raise them, so even if they're really high, then make them higher, because they basically want to make sure that nobody gets a 9, nobody gets an 8, try and like limit it as much as possible. So then if your target grade's a 9 and you only get a 7, it'll try and push you to work harder, and at the same time, like if you got a 9 and then you got a 7 in your actual GCSE, you'd be a bit like, well, what's happened there then? I was expecting a 9. So by marking it harshly, they're trying to lower your expectations. So yeah, that may be frustrating and you may be disheartened, but your school's actually trying to do it for your best interest in the long run. Yeah, like taking mocks seriously. If you have the time, go to your teacher for extra resources, ask for extra mock papers that you can do at home, and do as many past papers as you possibly can, because that is the best way to learn, especially in things like maths. Even if you have a paper here and you have the mark scheme here and you're literally just copying it out, that can still help. I remember there was one question that I could absolutely never do. Because with maths papers, it's like every single maths paper is the same. Like the arrangement of questions across 3 papers will mix up each time for each year. But evidently it's the same thing. The same questions come up again and again, just in a different scenario with different numbers. So you just need to learn exactly what to do and input the numbers even if you don't understand it. So using a mark scheme can really get you into that mind of the examiner, and it is so helpful. Keep your folders organised so it'll make you less stressed in the long run. Like, especially if you have one of those teachers that just does every single thing on paper, they just give you a sheet every single lesson and just like give you loads of those sheets and you basically learn from sheets. They may not tell you to put it in a folder or anything, but buy a folder and try and sort it out yourself. We did this for history and I must have had all of my year 10 work all on paper, because we weren't allowed to put it in our exercise book, so our exercise book was only for essays. So over my year 10 summer I tried to organise it all into a folder and I couldn't even like figure out the order of the years. But eventually I figured it out and that was so helpful. Again, as I've said in my sixth form top tips, a pop-up desk like a car boot, say it's this one here, yeah, pop this up in any room you like and it'll become an automatically wide desk so you can work anywhere, and at the same time you have a laptop desk so you can do your work lying down, so when it's 2 o'clock in the morning but you need to get your homework done at 4 tomorrow, you can lie down and still get your work done. Try and get into that study routine as well in year 11. So in year 11 I avoided TV all throughout the week. I went from Monday to Friday without watching any TV. I'd be in the dining room every day just working, and then on weekends I'd let myself watch TV, so I'd put my pop-up desk in the lounge and I'd be able to catch up on all the TV that I missed whilst doing my work then. Make sure you get your revision guides if you need to, because they probably will be the most helpful thing to you. Organise your exam pencil case, because that should help you in the long run as well, just to help you get rid of the stress on the day and everything. Check your specs as well, just in case, especially when you're first coming into year 11. It's like you don't really know what the exam's even on. It must have been January in year 11 before I even realised that like what an English language and a literature paper were. I didn't even know that they were two separate papers. So check that out. Check your papers out. Check the specs. Make sure your teachers are teaching the right things, although I have no doubt that they won't be, or that they will. I have no doubt that they, right, you know what I mean, basically. They probably will be teaching the right thing, but you know, just double check for your own peace of mind. Likewise, you can use online resources like Mr. Bruff to help you get through things. Make sure your notes are up to date. Cliff Notes for literature as well, Mr. Bruff. Yeah. Stacey Ray. Yeah. Find people who can give you advice as well. Like, I don't know what I would have done without my friends in higher years, because they offered me so much advice throughout. Like, if you have an older sister or brother or a friend or anything who can just talk to, or who can help you, then that will be very helpful. Similarly, you need to make sure that you ask for help if you don't understand something in the lesson. Make sure you sort it out that week rather than leave it until a few days before the exam. Make sure that you know what everything means. So don't have any gaps in your notes or anything. Make sure everything is all tight and secured and perfect. Also, like I've said in my sixth form, I have an app on my phone for my timetable, so I would advise putting your timetable on there just in case. And for year 11, although your school may provide a planner, buy your own. In year 11, you really do need, because of how you have 5 and 6 lessons a day. Like, you get so much homework, and then you'll have homework from the other days which you couldn't do on time, and all of your revision resources that you need to make as well. You need a page per day planner, really, ideally. So get yourself down to Ryman's and pick yourself up a page per day planner. You really do need one. So that is the most of my advice that I can offer, but there is one more thing which is specifically about the GCSE exams. If you think it might be possible for you to get exam concessions, make sure you do. If you don't know what exam concessions are, you might have noticed that when you go to the big main exam hall, that some students aren't actually there, but they are still sitting in the exams. So this was me, yeah, because I have my little panicking thing where I completely freeze and I'm not able to write anything at all. I was able to sit my exams in a separate room with some other people who were allowed to sit in a separate room. So I went to my doctor and he just basically wrote me a note that said, please recommend her for sitting in a separate room, something like that. So then that has to get approved by the exam board or something. I don't really know. They just send it off to higher people, basically. And then you get approved for it, and then you can go and sit in a separate room. So rather than being in the big, main, scary exam hall, you can sit in like comfier chairs and like a nice environment, fewer people. You'll only have one examiner as well, and yeah, that was really helpful to me. But the one thing I am annoyed about year 11 is that I now have extra time. So for my year 12 and year 13 exams, I was allowed extra time for them. But I wasn't allowed that at year 11 just because we hadn't really thought of it. So if you can get extra time, make sure you do. I have extra time on the grounds of anxiety. Basically just went to my doctor and said, could I have extra time please? And he was like, yeah. But it costs you about £15. He was like, yeah, just pay £15 at reception and you can have extra time. That was pretty much it, basically. So if you are a slow writer or have a slow processing speed, or you have anxiety and you would like extra time, because who doesn't want extra time, make sure you get it. I can't even remember how much it is. It might be like 25%. And that in a 2-hour English exam, that gives you a full extra half an hour. That's crazy. Anyway, I wish you the best of luck for going into year 11 and sitting your GCSEs. Just remember to try your hardest and you should see the rewards in the end. Good luck.